Well, welcome everybody. Good morning. Lovely to see your smiley faces. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Radka Newton. I'm one of the editors of the book that we will be bringing to you today. And we're going to introduce some of the concepts and do some activities to see if you maybe through this little taste can take to human-centered design like we have done. And I would like to just introduce also my colleagues who worked with me on the book. So I have Jean Mutton here, and Jean did education research degree here in Lancaster. So she's a Lancaster alumna. Shall I reveal when? No, maybe not.
49 years ago.
Okay, okay. Something like a few years ago. And I met Jean when I was doing my MBA, and I started being really interested in how to design good services for students. And Jean was my mentor. And this is probably about a decade ago when we stumbled across each other. So Jean, welcome to your alma mater. It's lovely to have you here. Now we have Professor Michael Doherty. Michael is head of student experience in the law school. And he came to us from Preston, I think from UCLan in 2019. So Michael is also a big promoter of really looking after students and working with students. And he's made significant changes to NSS in the law school. So thank you for being here, Michael. And then we have Sarah Dyer. And Sarah is one of our authors who also wrote a chapter in the book. Sarah is currently based in Manchester University, but she's a big innovator in education and worked with students and staff, and she has something really exciting to tell you today. So thank you so much for being here today. So you have some like little cards on the table, so there are some provocations as well that you can pick up, and they are mainly from our chapters. But I would like to start today with a little teaser, a little activity that has been actually designed by one of our authors who we worked with and our mentors, Adam Lawrence. And Adam, he's a sort of big name in service design, but we probably in higher education wouldn't know about him. But he's been paving the way of helping organizations to really think about how can they be more human-centered. And he has this fantastic exercise that he starts with. So I've totally stolen it from him. As he allowed, let me just move it, and I'm going to put it on. So we will start with a toilet challenge, and I'm going to read it from the book actually, to put my glasses. So imagine I'm Adam, sort of maybe look a bit like him now, look. Okay, so Adam wrote our chapter number 2, where he sort of explains about the concepts of design of service. And he starts like this: the educators and the airport toilet. I often stand on a conference stage and look at the room full of lawyers or engineers or government workers or educators. There may be 80 or 800 or 40 looking at me skeptically and folding their arms. Anybody folding their arms? My session is entitled Service Design, and they are completely uninterested. Service? They may be thinking, service like when I order a meal or when I call customer service to get it right. They should care because all delivery services, we all do work with which assist one another. So now let's on to the exercise. So to get the attention of these engineers and lawyers and you online folk, we start with this challenge. Imagine you work for an airport. You have loads of older visitors and your figures show that those older folks use the airport lavatories 3 times more often than youngsters. They look confused. Do you look confused? They look confused, so I continue. I'm not sure what older means in this case, but I turned 50 a few years ago, last year, and my Facebook advertising turned overnight from adventure holidays to continence products. So I guess 50 plus. So this should get a bit of an attention, a little laugh. Thank you, Alison. And the frowns are disappearing. Are the frowns disappearing? Now imagine your bosses want to make the airport experience better for those oldies like me. They have put you in charge. What do you do based on this data? Please talk to your neighbor. Shall we try? Any ideas? Anybody wants to? Yes, we have an idea here. Listen up, folk. We have the first consultant who is ready.
When you get at the end of the air flight, everybody's desperate for the toilet. People that are older should leave the airplane first and are wheeled in those trolleys to the toilets.
Wow. So even I'll be wheeled. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about being wheeled. Oh, we sit. Oh, it's like, oh, wow. Okay. Very interesting. So that's sort of very interesting idea, thinking about the older people getting out first. Very good. A bit of a sort of stigmatization going on, but, okay, we are where we are with the age, so we'll get over it. And maybe some cost involved. As a businesswoman, I think, oh, gosh, this is going to cost me. Any more ideas? Anybody else? Yes, Alison?
Well, I was going to say, I'll share Harry's point, because I think this was quite important, which was the question of what's the proportion of different age categories of people in the airport was part of the question, because we're like, well, if there's just more older travelers, then actually how much does that mean? Or do we then start to need to ask questions about the older travelers and when or where or why they are using the toilets to be able to understand what they would benefit from?
Fabulous. Well, we have some inquisitive table here. So they're curious. These people are curious. And that's what we really want you to be curious, to be honest. So let me continue from the book. Let's see what's supposed to happen in this session. A ripple goes through the audience as a lively conversation breaks out. Yes, thank you very much for that lively conversation. This is popular. Yes, this is popular. We're talking toilets. They are being asked to analyze a situation. There is even a little bit of quantitative data. Oh, we like a bit of quants, don't we? There is a chance to show their intellectual powers and chance to be right. How hard can it be? After a minute or less, I quietened them down and asked them for response. I did do that. Thanks, Adam, for that. Having posed this challenge many times, almost all the answers are familiar. Build more bathrooms, more signage, make the stalls more accessible, clean, play 1980s music or even 70s. So after a few more replies, they are nodding. This simple challenge seems to have been solved. Piece of cake. Nice ideas, I say. So I'm going to now play you two videos that I actually recorded myself. I'm not so weird. I don't go to the toilet, but I did go to the toilet. And I just want you to think about what can you see in these videos. So video number 1. Number 2.
This is final call to all remaining passenger to go for immediate boarding through gate 22.
Yay! So we have a light. I love it. We have a light bulb moments. I could see the light bulb going right there like crazy. Thank you so much for that. So yes, so this is just a very simple activity, but exactly that. So we're thinking, and what Alison said, why do people actually go to the toilet? And you wouldn't normally think about it, because you think, yes, we go to the toilet to have a wee, wash our hands or something like that. But actually, in this case, really understanding what's happening, why do older citizens go to the lavatories, saves a lot of money to any of these providers. So they actually realized that it wasn't the lack of toilets or the lack of signage, that it was actually the poor sound system where people couldn't hear the announcement. And they used to go to the toilet and just stand there and wait for the announcement and go, yes, gate number 50, I'm off. So this is just like a little introduction. And this continues in our first chapter. We ask Adam to just help us understand the concept of design. And design is an intentional act that we try to bring to education. And Adam helped us with the terminology, because the terminology is the biggest barrier for us when we're explaining this to colleagues. So we started thinking about the human centricity. Where does the service design come in? You may have heard about design thinking. And in this first chapter, he sets the scene and basically just says, call it what you want, but don't jump into assumptions, don't make conclusions. And even if it sounds so stupid as why would I ask myself why people go to the toilets, just pause yourself and before you jump into and start sort of sinking a lot of emotion or a lot of money into solutions. So I hope we've whetted your appetite for the book already. It's not all about the toilets, but of course if you want to investigate more. And there are some cards, so there is also a card with this, and Adam, on this there is a little quote from him on the table. Which, it's just one of these, where he's really saying that, this practice that may be something you'll experience today is not very normal in education. It's sort of doing, being playful, creating, querying, being curious. And he's saying this sort of, how do we convince people that this is the way to go, especially maybe in the austerity measures that we have now. So there is a little quote here, how do we convince people? So that's what he's also trying to address. And I just want to also acknowledge a beautiful design of the drawings that we have. We had a young designer, Molly, who designed drawings for each chapter with each author together. And Molly also talks about how she had to empathize with the authors and really understand what is it that they want to depict through these visuals. And she talks about herself in the book as her own journey through the sort of human-centered design, thinking, oh yes, I can make things beautiful, but maybe the authors wanted something quite different. So these are sort of credit to Molly, these beautiful drawings. So I'm just going to move swiftly on. So what is this book about? So I will probably ask you guys to share with us as well. What do you think this book is about? But we love this, and this is what I learned from Jean. So Jean, do you want to start? You've drummed this into me, I think, very early on. So what is this book really about?
Is the mic on? Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Radka, and welcome everybody. It's lovely to see so many people here today. The book really is our attempt to try and bring what we knew was happening out there through our contacts through the community in the service design world and the design thinking world, to get something in writing so that we could help spread the word. And what I love about this book is the fact that it's not been written just by academics. It's not been written just by people like me who worked 30 plus years in professional services in higher education, but it's those voices all coming together. It's got a range of different voices within it, and hopefully it's a series of, we're bringing case studies, we're bringing thought pieces, we're bringing insights into how everybody can actually use this approach to help make the student and staff experience better.
Thank you so much, Jean. Michael, what is this thing about? What's your
Okay.
take on it?
Well, first of all, I want to say I really loved both answers to the airport toilet question, and they really, I think, illustrated some nice things about a design approach. So, in your answer, you'd imagined the journey, you'd empathised with the user, and in your answer, you just said we want more information. And those are, let's not jump to a solution. We want to know what's going on a bit more. I think both those things illustrate quite distinctively human-centered design approaches and attitudes. Just got a question for you. Did you actually film those things yourself?
Yes.
Including the one in the toilet?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know how far you go in relation to creating.
Very far.
Very far.
I have no limits.
When one kind of first enters the world of service design, or kind of falls down the rabbit hole, as I sometimes think of it, there's a fairly common exercise that you do, which is you're asked to imagine a really good service experience from any part of your life. So it could be from entertainment or tech, and think about what made that a good experience, and what you valued about it, and then think about whether and how you can apply aspects of that to your own sector, to your own work. And it's a particularly valuable exercise because it very often shows you that there are useful methods for resolving problems and improving people's experience that already exist out there in the world. And that we often just have to raise our heads and look beyond our own domain to find things that are applicable to our own challenges. And it can take a little bit of courage and certainly quite a lot of energy to bring them into our own practice. So many of our chapters in this book really show this. We have authors who draw on existing bodies of work from lean and from automation, but in particular from service design and human-centered design. And these are concepts that developed really from the late 1980s, early 1990s. It's an established way of thinking and working now that's been applied across so many different sectors, originally in the tech and software sector, but then in banking, financial services, even sectors which are narrow-minded and conservative like the legal sector. And they've been very, very rarely applied to higher education. I mean, really, there's been a surprising absence of the application of human-centered design to higher education. And our book is a little step in addressing that gap. I think it's particularly important for higher education because we're a sector that really prides itself, that really boasts about being student-centered. And yet we collectively as a sector have done so little work on truly understanding the lived experience, the whole lived experience of our students, beyond demographic metrics and beyond survey results. And as we get into more this idea of a stress test, that so many of our students have increasingly difficult times at university, it becomes increasingly important to understand the whole of their lived experience and to draw on a much wider range of techniques, a much wider palette of techniques to see how we can do better to help them have a good experience of higher education.